Blessings Booktube. I'm here to discuss a young adult, actually a middle reader book for part of Young Adult August. It's my great pleasure to introduce a wonderful author named KIERA Stewart to you. I'm 100% biased. I knew KIERA. She and I taught together briefly in Honduras years ago, and she's a wonderful person. I did not know anything about her writing other than that she had been published by major publishers like Disney, that she had written a book about where boys are looked at like difficult to train as dogs, but unfortunately was not the one that was made into a movie. Sort of a synchronicity where those two books came out at the same time, kind of like when Disney and Pixar had their Bugs Life and Ants at the same time. So this book is called The Summer of Bad Ideas. And the list of bad ideas is the list of deceased grandma, who we'll meet in a moment. And it is a lot of fun. And it is not at all linear or boring in any way. So cast that out of your mind right away. If I were to compare this book to something in literature, I might compare it to My Family and Other Animals, except that in this case, Corfu is a small town in, I'm guessing, the north of Florida, anyway, the sort of southern hick part, called tater tot sized little town called Paynee. I'm trying to remember how to pronounce it in the southern way. It's beautifully described as a town with a gator problem, some feral children, the mafia, running about on. I think they're in bicycles. I should note that I did spend seventh grade in rural northern Florida, seventh or eighth grade. And so I can testify to the representation here is very accurate, except they might have been in reality on four-wheelers. And the only thing they don't do here that we did at that age when I was there in the 80s is go swimming in the springs, although they do go into the swamps, as we'll see in a bit. So what else to say about the town? It's hot as a gym teacher's armpits. There's a lot of great humor in KIERA Stewart's prose, and it's very appropriate to this level of middle school reading. The animals that are involved here, Herbie the stuffed snake, Imelda the real snake, Albert / Odysseus the stuffed dog, Louis the gator, Barbara the iguana. These are the beloved pets of the deceased grandmother, Petunia, or Tuna as she's sometimes known. And she is at peace in that she has recently passed. Although it is, one of the characters says of her, being at peace is the last thing she would like to be. She was a spitfire by all accounts. She loved ivory soap because she had her mouth washed out with it so often as growing up. And this is very much a contrast character for our hero, Edie, or Edith, who we'll meet in a minute, who not only does she not swear, she can't even say crap. She says carp instead of crap. And maybe Petunia loved her animals a little bit too much because for some reason, our hero Edie has never met her grandmother because somehow Tunya and Edie's mom, Dr. Hannah, had become estranged. That is not overly dwelled on in the book, which is very refreshing in the sort of family trauma tropes that are so heavy-handed in a lot of books nowadays. I think that's wonderfully handled, as is the use of the animals. So not only, I believe KIERA Stewart lives in Connecticut, California. We'll get there in the end. So I don't know that she ever even lived in Florida. Maybe she vacationed there, but she certainly did her research and she gets it right. Same for the animal stuff. When I knew her, she was never talking about animal stuff, but she clearly has done a ton of research. But she doles out that research so expertly. It comes out in little bits of setting, obviously, but dialogue as a marker of failed flirting. You have these weird science facts come out. Characterization, very much from the twins who we'll meet in a minute. And even themes. So apparently the monarch butterfly who emerges right from the cocoon digests itself in about 6 weeks, which is about the time frame of our story. So yes, research and details very well handled here, as well as the dialogue and humor, as I mentioned. They're cleaning out Petunia's house, is beautifully described. The dust in the air, like plankton, right? Very pretty imagery, I thought there. And let's talk about Edie, our hero. Her name is Edith, and she is afraid. And she's afraid of snakes, and she's afraid of boys. And she's afraid of all kinds of things. And she's described as having hair like scribbled by a tan crayon. She's on this campaign to be called Edie, and she wants to prove to her friend Taylor back home that she's an exciting person, because her friend Taylor is drifting into another friendship, and Edie is very afraid of losing her. She's afraid of a memory that she has. Again, it's not over traumatized. She had an event in a zoo, and so she's afraid of the snakes. And this is inconvenient because when she finds the list, finally the list, right? She finds the list of her grandma's list of summer things to do, and decides she wants to do this list to prove how brave she is. The first item on that list is to bare hand catch a snake. So we can see that this isn't going to be the culminating event, right, where she finally deals with this snake. This is number one on the list. And this is what I wanted to say about those list items. And I'll tell you some of them, but not all of them. They are not handled linearly. They keep repeating. You're never quite sure which ones are done or not done. It's done in such a satisfying way that you have a fear, or I had a fear, lingering fear to the. If it had been adult fiction, I would have been sure that this was going to end in an unresolved way. But since it's a YA, I thought, oh, it's going to wrap up all this list somehow now at the very end in a very sort of contrived way. Nothing could be further from the truth. The ending is fantastic. We'll get there in a minute. So let's talk about Edie's cousin. So Edie's father's Walter. Her mother is a hover mother. Not only does she teach Edith not to play with matches, Edith doesn't even know how to light a match. That's how hover mother Dr. Hannah is. Dr. Hannah introduces herself even to children as Dr. Hannah. She is a PhD in statistics, if my memory doesn't fail me. And her husband Walt is a bit of an egghead. Their family is all about teaching moments. I love it. Their vacations are all educations, like to a German place called theme park called Worst World. The twins are younger, are dizygotic. They are perhaps on the spectrum. That is not stated, and I appreciate that. They are very brilliant, but very dumb also at the same time, in the way that they're discussing phylums in the car, and then they try to get out of the car without exiting their seatbelt. Their goal for the summer is to make a documentary of rare animals, which, being rare, are not easy to find. I will leave that at that. So they are Beatrice, sorry, and Henry. And then there's Uncle AJ. So Uncle AJ, he's like, awkward jokester. Um, his wife is not around, but he does have his daughter, Edie's cousin Ray. And they don't mention too much about the mother situation, just to call her momster at one point, and that she's sort of an absentee figure, right? So Ray is very theatrical. Ray is the other contrast character with Tuna to Edie, right? Ray is on stage, so she's very brave in that way. Sometimes one wonders, does she want a friend or a fan? And unlike Edie, who doesn't even have a phone, Ray is all about the likes, all about doing things because they're postable. She's not interested in the list items unless they're postable. She's very frustrated because the connections out there are terrible, not as she calls it. And she calls her followers beasties. She was in some commercials for Pollo Mio, I think. So she's very fearless in a lot of ways. She's got an absentee boyfriend, Leo, and Edie, may or may not have an absentee boyfriend, Klaus. I'll let you guess on that one. So we have all the characters set up for a fun summer. Let's talk a little bit more about some of the characters in town. First is Tree Boy, Tarzan, jumps out of the tree. He is named Mitchell, although the mafia boys in town call him Ed, and there's a reason for that. He's got a little brother, Colin, who is sort of the contrast of the twins. He's like, hi, 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 bye, 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 bye. He's very young, very much of his age, and a bit of a handful that that Mitchell is always looking after. In fact, Mitchell's quite nice looking after the twins as well on several occasions. He's just a nice boy. He takes care of all the animals. He was a good friend to to Petunia. So there's his family. I love at a certain point when Edie spends some time alone with Mitchell, she doesn't realize that she's holding her breath. And I felt this was like a really great way of showing the feeling between them. And his dimples are often mentioned. At one point she says she wants to know the answers to all his questions, which I thought was a really lovely sentiment as well. We've got the Augustus's Tools and Treats is one of the shops in town. They want to get a metal detector there because item 2 is discover hidden treasure. But the twins end up making a home from the electronics found around the house, end up making a makeshift metal detector for them. Anyway, I won't tell you if they find treasure or what form that treasure takes. Anyway, Augustus's mom makes the ice cream at the shop. There's three flavors, chocolate, vanilla, and then something called Surprise Me, which his mother makes. She's a bit old at this point, and she makes like pork and beans ice cream and stuff like that, and it's a Surprise Me category. We've got Zach Amos and Melba, the alligator trapper, who's got her pantsuit and her crooked wig, and Zach's so bent he needs a scaffold. He's got the diabetes, right? The house smells of talc and citrus. I feel these characterizations are really spot on. I lived in Florida, as I mentioned, at that young age, and there were feral children, animals everywhere, pantsuited, eccentric old ladies reading every, Inquirer they could get their hands on. All of those details are very, very true to life, in my experience. We've got Rosie. Oh, sorry. Rosie is the gator catcher. Melba's Zach's partner. So we got Rosie, Matter, and the Bobcat. Who else? Just one point, she says that Petunia told her that fear could be a crutch or a slingshot, and that's another really nice image of our central theme. And then there's the policeman L. Wayne, who's knew Hannah as a child. And so one begins to wonder why the policeman knew this goody two-shoes Dr. Hannah as a child. It refers to her at one point as a blueberry thicket. And that's enough, I think, of a bit of a feel for the town. Let's look a little bit more at the list. We've got Bare Hand in the Snake, Discovering the Hidden Treasure. We got Dance in a Hurricane. Hurricane's also very true to Florida, although nothing is what it seems here. We've got the Master Flirtation. That's quite a funny scene. We got Wishing on a Shooting Star, which is a very tender scene. I especially like Ray's advice to Edie about flirting. And we'll probably end maybe a couple more items here. I don't want to get into spoiler territory, but hopefully Kiera won't mind my mentioning what I liked about Ray's advice to Edie for flirting, because it's very wholesome, and in my mind is really very real to that age and to this age, this moment in history right now, but also of sort of all time. And it really is the way to flirt. She says to make him laugh, find something in common, make sleepy eyes, give him small gifts, a Tic Tac or something like that. And it's just a very charming, a really nice moment there that I just didn't expect, that I would say elevates this book, albeit middle school, to really a work of literature with this just really archetypical moment here. And of course, the way it's handled, as always, with Kiera's humor and realism. I won't tell you everything about how Edie goes about it, although it ends up working, although nothing should. It involves a dead rat, some Santa laces, and sea stars. We'll leave it at that. All right, so item 6 is write a scary story, and several versions of that happen. 7 is to cross Corkscrew Swamp in the full moon. So this becomes very significant because there's one full moon left in the summer. And at this point, there has become to be a wedge between Ray and Edie, the dynamic duo. Wasn't being brought home by the police or breaking and entering or any of their shenanigans. They've all been telling little lies or keeping little secrets. So at this point, the girls are sort of estranged, and it's very tense because this is the last moment, the last full moon, that anyone can do this. And the last couple items, we'll just say they involve maybe hugging, maybe charming, and maybe a blank. So we'll leave it at that because I really want you to go read this book. You will not be disappointed. I found it charming and funny and touching and really nostalgic. And in a way that I feel like, a creepy old guy like me could read it without being too cringe and enjoy it. But also, I feel like girls that age reading this today, or boys, would find it true to their life as well. So check it out. Give it a read. KIERA Stewart's Summer of Bad Ideas. Wait, no, let me get the title right. Want to do my due diligence since I'm doing a newer book for once, and not one of my old classics. So this is Summer of Bad Ideas by KIERA Stewart, and it is imprint of Harpur Collins. It comes in at 298 pages. It's very cheap on Kindle, and very reasonable on paper. And KIERA Stewart is also the author of How to Break a Heart and Fetching, which was the one about trying to train boys. It says here, KIERA Stewart writes novels for teens and tweens, including Fetching and How to Break a Heart. And her qualifications include never having gotten wisdom teeth and having the same best friend since 8th grade. Oh, that's not surprising. She lives in Sonoma County, California. Read about her at www.kierastewart.com. Highly recommended. 10 out of 10.